What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today, recapping week 3 of New York Giants OTAs. That's right, the Giants just wrapped up their third week of spring practice, and then they're going to have their mini camp next week, mandatory mini camp, and then after that, they're going to break until the end of July for training camp. So, training camp right around the corner, exciting stuff. Final week of OTAs. What did we learn? What can we take away? Well, that's what we're going to dive into in today's episode. And there were quite a few things to take away from this week's practices. From the practice reports, the media was in attendance for Thursday's practice as well. So we got an outside perspective and a little bit of outside reporting on these practices. I'm going to go ahead and dive into all of the takeaways that I found on the Giants practice reports from their website and, of course, from the beat writers who were in attendance for the practice as well. But before I dive into all that, I want to make a special announcement, guys. If you are going to Fanatics Fest next weekend at the Javits Center, that's June 20th and 21st, Friday and Saturday, I will be there, and I'm really excited to meet some of you guys. I met a few of you at last year's Fanatics Fest, at last year's Giants Fan Fest at MetLife Stadium. Really love engaging with the community, meeting with all of you, and talking Giants first and foremost. So if you're going to be there next weekend, comment down below. Make sure to follow along with me on Fireside Giants Instagram. That's where you can reach me. Send me a DM. Also on my Twitter, of course, you can reach me there at Anthony_Rivardo. Just hit me up when you're at Fanatics Fest and say, hey, I want to say what's up. Let's talk some Giants, and I will be available to talk Giants with you. And also, we're going to be giving away some stickers and some merch, doing some trivia and other fun things at Fanatics Fest. So make sure you do stay tuned to the social medias, and I hope to see you there and talk some Giants with you and have a good time at Fanatics Fest. Really excited for it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the Giants Week 3 OTAs takeaways. Now, number one thing that I'll bring up here, the Giants are going to be having joint practices during the preseason with the New York Jets. They're going to be having home and away joint practices. So if you didn't know, yes, the New York Giants and the New York Jets do share MetLife Stadium, but they do not share the same training facility. The Giants practice at the Quest Diagnostic Center, which is right across the street from MetLife Stadium, basically at MetLife Stadium. That's where their team facilities are. However, the Jets travel to Florham Park in New Jersey. They practice and have training camp there, and that's where they do most of their preseason practices. So the Giants will travel to Florham. The Jets will travel to the Meadowlands, and they will have joint practices later on this summer. And I'm excited for it. I think that's going to be really fun to watch because for the Giants and for the Jets, there is a little bit of a rivalry, of course, but adding on from last year, the Giants had joint practices, if you remember, with the Detroit Lions. And there were some fights, some scuffles. It hit a very intense level of competition. Malik Nabers, if you all remember, got into a bit of a fist fight, and then there was a big scrum on the field. He was fighting with, I believe it was Lions safety Kirby Joseph. So the reason I bring this up and why it's relevant and important, Lions defensive coordinator last year was Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn this year, head coach of the New York Jets. So expect to see the same level of intensity on the practice field next month when the Giants and Jets share the practice field for those joint practices. Should be a lot of fun. Definitely something to keep an eye on. So wanted to mention that in case you guys didn't get that news. But in terms of player takeaways and practice takeaways, we'll go ahead and dive into that now as well. So I want to start with the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. Let's talk about first and foremost Russell Wilson. If you see in the title, it says, Russ, please save us. Russell Wilson has looked really good at New York Giants OTAs. That's why I have that in there, and that's why I wanted to start the conversation with him. So Russell Wilson, you guys know how I feel about him. I'm excited for him. I think he's a major upgrade over what the Giants had last year. And even if he's just an average quarterback at this stage in his career, that is a monumental upgrade from the league worst quarterback room last season that the New York Giants were playing with. And what we've seen so far through OTAs, he's at least an average quarterback. But more importantly, he's setting a new standard here for the New York Giants. He's bringing the veteran experience that they really haven't had. And yeah, I know that they had some veteran quarterbacks in that room last year, but they didn't have veteran future Hall of Fame Super Bowl champion experience in that quarterback room like they do now with Russell Wilson. And if you read what the players are saying about him, Darius Slayton had a ton of praise for him, saying, he's kept everybody in line. He's been throwing a beautiful ball. It's super catchable. We saw the quote last week from Wan'Dale Robinson where He said that when Russell Wilson throws you a pass, it just drops in like a pillow. He puts it in the bucket. The players are really excited about Russell Wilson. And not only are the players, but this was one of the main takeaways that I wanted to bring up because I thought this was really cool. This is coming from the Giants website. Apparently, Brian Daboll has restructured his practices using the feedback of this new quarterback room, in particular, Russell Wilson. So let me read this excerpt for you all from the New York Giants website. Wilson's gravitas has also extended to how Daboll structured practice this spring, which has included more 7-on-7 reps. Quote, I think it's important to listen to the quarterbacks. They're the ones that are touching the ball on every play. Certainly, he has a lot of accolades behind his playing career and experience. It's been good. Obviously, speaking about Russell Wilson. And Jameis has as well, and Tommy DeVito, and even Jackson Dart. When you're in that room and you're talking to those guys, they see things from a wide scope perspective and bring up things up that there's a lot of good communication. So I think it's important to really talk and communicate and listen to any of the quarterbacks. But Russ has been good for us, I'd say, in a number of ways since he's been out there. So I think that's some really exciting stuff to hear. Honestly, guys, if there has been one thing, this is like a nitpick that I've had of Brian Daboll, it's been practice intensity or lack thereof over the last couple of seasons. Also, preseason lack of intensity. I'm sure you guys have heard me rant before about the fact that the Giants starters are seemingly completely absent throughout the preseason. I want these players getting more reps on the field, meaningful reps, whether it's on the preseason field, doing more 7-on-7s during OTAs, and hopefully that leads to more scrimmaging and meaningful reps during training camp, more physicality, more practice, like legitimate practice, and not the country club style that the Giants have had over the last couple of years that have resulted in very slow starts to the regular season. To me, my opinion, the key to a hot start in the regular season is a hot summer of practices. Intensity. Yeah, I know there's the risk of injury, and a lot of fans are scared about that. But you know what? You can get injured in any given moment when you're playing football. You can get injured on the practice field, or 4 snaps into your season, you could tear your Achilles like Aaron Rodgers did, and he barely played in that preseason. So that's essentially the perspective that you need to take. You can get injured at any time, but if you do perform in the preseason and in training camp, you actually bring a level of intensity, you're going to play how you practiced, and you're going to play better at the start of the regular season. I think that's something the Giants are finally learning from their mistakes here, and they're going to have a better and more productive summer of practices as a result. Really hoping that that's the case, but also really excited to hear that it's Russell Wilson and his experience that is implementing this change or being the catalyst to the implementation of this change here for the New York Giants. So exciting stuff there for me. Happy to hear that Russ's leadership is not only extending to the players around him, but even into the coaching staff, as he has more experience and successful experience than even Brian Daboll does. So Brian Daboll leaning on his quarterback, I do think is a good sign for him. And I do think it's important. So yeah, I mean, and also, thinking about how Russ is going to impact the offense, it's not just from his accuracy. It's not just from, his ability to impact the way they practice, but also when you're thinking about the pre-snap aspect of football. This is something that Wan'Dale Robinson said has already shown up during OTAs. He said that Russ always knows where to go with the ball and is always telling everybody where to be and when to be there. He's moving things around at the line of scrimmage already in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills. He's already got everybody on the same page. He's got the communication down. This is really encouraging stuff to hear at OTAs, because where do you want the mistakes to happen, the lapses in communication? During OTAs. Well, it sounds like Russell Wilson has been first man in, last man out. He's been really detail-oriented, and he's been working hard, and he's gotten his players on the same page, and they are starting to click already in OTAs. So just all around, really exciting and encouraging things that we're learning here about Russell Wilson and this New York Giants offense. And I just can't wait to see this thing take the field later this year. So that's going to be the update on Russell Wilson. The rest of the quarterbacks, here's what you need to know. First and foremost, Jackson Dart has looked good. They had the open practice with the media present on Thursday. Jackson Dart, you can go over on Twitter. SNY posted a compilation of all of his throws during the 7-on-7 drills. A lot of really good passes in there, including a layered touchdown throw over the top of Cordell Flott, back shoulder to Daniel Bellinger for the score. It was a great throw. It had some zip on it, but it also was layered with enough touch over the defender. Honestly, it was pretty good coverage by Cordell Flott. I won't lie. He just didn't get his head turned around in time, but it dropped right in the bucket. right into the tight window for Daniel Bellinger, who made the touchdown grab that was during 7-on-7. So that was one of the highlights. SNY did post that and posted many others. But what I read was that Jackson Dart had a lot of touch on his throws and played really good football during Thursday's practice on 7-on-7s. And here's the key takeaway that I really want to have as a sticking point for Jackson Dart for you all. He was taking the majority of his reps, I believe, with the second team. From what it sounds like in these practice reports and from the reporters, it seems as though the Giants have gone to 50-50 split with the second team between Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston. Now, Russell Wilson hasn't taken any second or third team reps. Don't expect him to. He's only taken reps with the first team. That's going to maintain because he is the starting quarterback of this Giants roster. So don't get that twisted. I gave him all the praise at the beginning because I knew I was going to praise Jackson Dart, and I don't want to hear anybody say, hey, should we rush the rookie into the lineup? No, the Giants are doing this the right way. But let's keep in mind here, Jackson Dart started out the summer as the QB3. Very quickly, he's emerged as a candidate to be QB2 on this roster. And that's something that we need to monitor throughout the summer because let's imagine at the end of the summer, the Giants announce their official depth chart and Jackson Dart is the QB2. That could have a pretty significant domino effect on Jameis Winston, his expendability, and a potential trade candidate for the New York Giants. So I'll go over this briefly, but if you think about it, if the Giants feel like Jameis Winston has fallen behind, Jackson Dart has clearly taken over as the QB2, they're so comfortable that, let's say, if Russ were to go down in week 5, they would be comfortable putting Jackson Dart in the lineup because he's looked so good and he's been the clear second best quarterback on the roster. If that's how they wind up feeling about him by the end of the summer, that would make Jameis Winston expendable. And when you're looking around the league right now, there are a lot of teams that are going to want a quarterback sometime this year, whether you're talking about bringing in a very capable quarterback. In my opinion, Jameis is among the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, or even a guy who could compete as a starter if you need him to. And I'm kind of mainly referencing the New Orleans Saints. Jameis played for the Saints a few years ago, was having the best season of his career, arguably, then tore his ACL. But he was the starter over there a few years ago. And the Saints, let's imagine a world where they get to the end of the summer. Tyler Shuck looks terrible. Spencer Rattler looks terrible. That third quarterback that they have with the funny picture on the internet, I don't remember who he is. I don't remember his name. What if he looks terrible too? Okay, all their quarterbacks are bad. They're going to be quarterback needy. They're going to be desperate, and they're going to have familiarity with Jameis Winston, who, in this scenario, if he becomes expendable for the Giants, might be able to fleece the Saints for a pretty good draft pick. Now, I don't know if that would end up being a day 2 pick, like a third rounder. I think there's a possibility that it could be, though, but it would probably be a valuable day 3 pick, like a 4th or 5th rounder, because he is a quarterback and because these teams are going to be quarterback needy and desperate. So, not saying that it's going to happen. He signed a 2-year deal. I think the Giants want him to be the backup quarterback in 2026 as well, and ideally he will be. But just let's keep an eye on it. If he does come out of the summer as the QB3, he could become expendable, especially considering the Giants do like Tommy DeVito. He does know the offense, and he is a big culture and fan base guy. So they could feel comfortable with DeVito as QB3 and move on from Jameis and get a pretty valuable draft pick for a player that they just signed to a 2-year, $8 million contract. That would actually be some pretty good business on the part of Joe Schoen. So again, not to get away with things, too carried away with things. This is only OTAs. Jackson Dart getting second team reps does not mean that he is outperforming Jameis in a significant fashion or that he is the QB2. Again, I'm only saying this to say let's monitor it, see how it goes during training camp in the preseason. If by the end of the summer Jackson Dart is the QB2 and there's a clear gap between him and Jameis, then we'll see what happens and if he does become expendable in the eyes of the New York Giants coaching staff. But for now, we'll just keep an eye on it, keep some tabs. But very encouraged by what I've heard from and read about Jackson Dart. Sounds like he's playing some good ball. Worked his way up already from third team exclusively to getting second team reps. And he has been taking a handful of first team reps throughout the OTA period as well. He's thrown some good passes to Darius Slayton and to Hyatt and to other guys who are in the first team. So definitely some important things there. Now, another miniature update for you. Let's talk Malik Nabers because we haven't talked a lot of Malik Nabers in recent weeks. In fact, I saw somebody comment that recently. I think it was on the FSG Instagram, might have been in one of the YouTube comments, but somebody said, hey, what's up with Malik Nabers? Nobody's been talking about him. He's not practicing. So I'm sure a lot of you do know that, but in case you didn't, Malik Nabers has been dealing with a toe injury. Brian Dable said that this has been lingering since 2023. So it's been something that he's been dealing with since college. And he is rehabbing it, and the Giants are being smart with him. They don't need him on the OTA practice field, so they're not going to rush him onto the OTA practice field. Essentially just bubble wrapping him and saying, once we get to training camp, once these practices start to matter a bit more and we need you out there in these contact practices, that's when we'll get Malik Nabers out there. But he's rehabbing. He doesn't require surgery. But also there was an update from Dable yesterday saying that he is making good progress in his recovery. He should be good by the start of training camp. But don't expect him to see him. Don't expect to see Malik Nabers at mandatory minicamp next week either. He'll still be rehabbing the injured toe. So that's the update on Leak. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. I'm sure many of you saw that viral clip that Abdul Carter posted a couple days ago. And I'll say, if you haven't seen it, go check out Fireside Giants. We did post it there. But my goodness, that rep was exciting to watch. Essentially what you had on that play, you had Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau all on the field together, all three of them winning their rep within a split second and meeting in the backfield to converge around Russell Wilson. It was lightning fast. Carter hit a spin move from the inside. Burns hit a spin move on the edge. And then you had Thibodeau hit that dip and rip to get past Jermaine Illuminor at right tackle and also win the rep for a would-be sack. Again, keep in mind, no pads on, no contact, very minimal contact when they're doing these pass rushing drills and simulations. So keep all of that in mind. That is important to note. However, it is encouraging to see this pass rush already starting to look like the real deal. And the main takeaway that I want you guys to have from that clip really isn't, oh, this Giants defense is going to go for 65 sacks this year. Oh, this team is too good. Because they are going against offensive linemen who are not wearing pads and aren't allowed to really maul them. So keep that in mind. But what I want to take away from it, this is what's important to take away from it, was the alignment. You had Brian Burns on the edge, aligned over the left tackle. You had Kayvon Thibodeau on the edge, aligned over the right tackle. And then you had Abdul Carter lined up on the interior over the right guard. And that's the main takeaway here. Abdul Carter is the one who's going to be the chess piece for the New York Giants defense. We've talked about how they're going to try and find ways to get all three of those pass rushers on the field at the same time. This was our first glimpse of that. Now, on that note, that's why Abdul Carter shouldn't have posted this private film clip of him and all the guys getting the sack, because it has in a way tipped the Giants' hand. Now we do know how they're planning on deploying him and the rest of these pass rushers, and other teams will see this and figure it out too. But hey, they're going to figure it out at some point anyway. This isn't a major surprise, but it is an encouraging sign that already defensive coordinator Shane Bowen is coming up with creative ways to get all three of these guys on the field and maximize the talent of this defense. So it's going to be Abdul Carter. Expect him to be that chess piece that moves around the defense, plays off-ball linebacker, plays interior pass rusher, edge rusher, and gets all over the place to get after the quarterback and create matchup advantages for the New York Giants defense. That's the main takeaway from that clip. It's not how much talent the Giants have. We already know they have a ton of talent. The main takeaway is that the Giants are planning on making Carter the chess piece, the movable player in this front seven. And that makes sense. He's got experience playing off-ball linebacker at Penn State. He's very physical and he's athletic, so he can really align anywhere. And I think on this play, I don't even think he was in a three-point stance. Don't think he had his hand in the dirt. I think he was sort of kind of playing off-ball linebacker, but lining up in the gap. So exciting stuff there. Really like that deployment and the alignment there, and really looking forward to seeing what this looks like when we do get to the regular season football field. That pass rushing trio is going to be incredible. And last note on that clip, Dexter Lawrence wasn't even on the field. So this could have been potentially 4 pass rushers just demolishing through the offensive line and getting to the quarterback, but Lawrence wasn't on the field. But you know what? In fact, that 4th guy who was on the field, he was handled by Evan Neal at left guard and John Michael Schmitz at center. All of the other offensive linemen got beat, got worked in like a second. Again, they didn't have pads on, so let's cut them some slack. However, we see Evan Neal with some pretty good footwork on that clip and doing a pretty good job handling a double team with John Michael Schmitz. So an encouraging sign there, to be completely honest. I really liked seeing Evan Neal handle his own on that rep, and John Michael Schmitz as well. So some good stuff there, and definitely excited to see this pass rush continue to develop, but also, of course, to see this offensive line develop. Evan Neal, from what we've read, has been making some good progress. The Giants coaching staff seems pleased with where he's at and seem to be encouraged by his transition to guard. It seems like he's doing a pretty good job with this transition. And might be taking strides in his game. So is it too late for Evan Neal to turn it around? We shall see. I'm very excited to see how he performs in the preseason. That'll be a true test for him. Now, a couple episodes ago, we did talk about the Giants kicking situation, and we discussed how the best ability is availability, and the second best ability for a kicker is consistency. My friend, if you're listening to this one, that was for you. Jude McAdamney, though, he was kicking yesterday at practice. He went 4 for 5. He went 3 for 4 from 50-plus yards out and did connect on a 58-yard field goal as well. The Giants had a 2-minute drill. They ran and got the offense off the field. The kicker came on, and as the clock hit 0, McAdamney did get the kickoff and did connect. So kicking under pressure, also important. Now, keep in mind, I'm bringing this up because this indicates Graham Gano was not practicing yesterday. He was not on the field. What have we talked about with Graham Gano? Availability hasn't been there for him. He's been injured. If he can get on the field, yeah, sure, the Giants have a kicker. But if he can't get on the field, this is an open competition, and Jude McAdamney has an opportunity in training camp to win this job. Obviously, entering the second season of his career, coming from the International Pathway Program for the Giants, was at UDFA last year. He's Scottish. He's a good kicker, seemingly. That's why they kept him on the practice squad all year last year. He only kicked 1 field goal in the regular season, but did convert from 31 yards out. But now going forward, it does sound like special teams coordinator Mike Gobriel has made this an open competition between Graham Gano and Jude McAdamney. And a reminder, if the Giants want to move on from Graham Gano, they'll save $4.5 million against the salary cap by releasing him this summer. So Jude McAdamney also has a financial edge over Graham Gano if he does kick him this summer. So let's keep an eye on that as well. Some more takeaways from the defense. Dane Belton can't stop making plays. He had another interception, I think on Thursday it was. It got called back, but the fact that he had another one in the right place at the right time, like always, had another pick, the guy is just playing out of his mind. Micah McFadden, he had a sack. Belton had a sack yesterday. Abdul Carter, Elijah Chapman, and Brian Burns all had multiple instances in the backfield, and Brian Burns swatted down a pass that was apparently went 10 yards back into the face of the quarterback somehow. So the pass rush has been getting home. That's one big takeaway. And the secondary has done well also. Paulson Adebo had an interception, I believe, yesterday as well. And I know that Adebo's had a couple. Newbin had a big pass breakup. Drew Phillips had a big pass breakup as well yesterday. I know Cordell Flott has been getting first-team reps. That's continued. We talked about that in last week's takeaways, but that has continued this week. Cordell Flott has been kind of working in there along with Deonte Banks. They've been taking turns at CB2. So definitely something to monitor next month at training camp when the pads do come on, who is more physical and who is going to take over with those reps. Let's flip back to the offensive side of the ball and talk about Jalin Hyatt. We've talked a lot about Jalin Hyatt in recent weeks. He's been playing great. He's developing a connection with Russell Wilson. Reminder, he's been developing this connection because he's in the lineup in place of Malik Nabers. When Malik Nabers is healthy, we are inevitably going to see less Jalin Hyatt with the starters. But hey, he's been given an opportunity here, and he is making the most of it. He's catching touchdowns left and right, going deep and hauling in moon balls from Russell Wilson. But the big takeaway from Jalin Hyatt is not even anything that Jalin Hyatt did or said, but it's something that Darius Slayton said after yesterday's practice. He told the media that Jalin Hyatt showed up to practice looking, quote, swelled up, end quote, put on a lot of muscle. In fact, Slayton said it was somewhere between 15 to 20 pounds of muscle added to his frame. He said that the physicality is already shown up on the field and is clearly helping him at OTAs. So what did we talk about last week? Alex and I had a conversation about Jalin Hyatt, the things that have held him back versus his strengths, his weaknesses. What is his skill set and how can he be implemented going forward at the NFL level and for the New York Giants as he enters his third season? The number one weakness, physicality, lack thereof. He isn't able to beat press coverage. He doesn't get past the jammy cornerbacks. He can't win at the catch point. Well, hey, you know what? Adding 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, hitting the gym and getting stronger, that's going to help him turn that weakness, hopefully, into a strength, or at least just neutralize it. So some encouraging stuff there. Apparently the physicality has shown up. I don't know how much that could truly show up in non-padded practices at OTAs, but Darius Slayton says it has. And Darius Slayton said it's very clear that Jalin Hyatt has made strides in his game. So really looking forward to the preseason. We can see this bigger, stronger version of Jalin Hyatt take the field and hopefully make some plays. And hey, hopefully carve out a role in this Giants offense this season. We've been waiting for it since his rookie year 2 seasons ago. It hasn't happened, but hey, maybe this season it finally will. Maybe we'll get the Jalen Hyatt breakout with Russell Wilson throwing him the football. I definitely think it's a possibility. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good takeaway segment. Tyrone Tracy Jr. had a great quote yesterday where he said he wants to be one of the all-time New York Giants great running backs. And he mentioned playing alongside the other guys in that backfield, Devin Singletary and Cam Scatterbo, is going to be a positive. It's really going to help him and help the offense be more dynamic. And apparently the Giants are already coming up with ways to make that trio in the backfield very dynamic. And also Tyrone Tracy Jr. said that he bought some grip strength workout tools on Amazon because of his fumble problem last year. As you all know, he fumbled the ball 5 times last season. It's a pretty significant number. He's a rookie, growing pains, sure, but 5 fumbles in 12 starts is a pretty ugly number. Apparently, he's been working on that very diligently and has even been trying to strengthen his grip with some tools that he got on Amazon. So another cool takeaway there for Tyrone Tracy Jr. Paulson Adebo said that he loves the treasure chest idea, the Shane Bowen treasure chest. The Giants get a turnover. The defensive player throws the ball in the treasure chest. He said he can't wait to stuff as many balls as possible into the treasure chest. Very excited to see Paulson Adebo stuff the footballs into the treasure chest. That should be a lot of fun. But yeah, Paulson Adebo's been making plays. So is Javon Holland. I don't think he practiced on Thursday, though. I think they gave him a veteran's rest today. And essentially, as OTAs do come to an end here, now we have to look ahead to training camp. Mandatory minicamp next week. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, training camp is really when things start to heat up, as you all know. But it was a pretty good 3 weeks of OTAs. There were a lot of strides made from important players. Hyatt, Dart, Russell Wilson, clearly and obviously making an impact on the entirety of this team, all the way into the coaching staff. So just a lot to be positive about. You guys know I've had a positive vibe about the Giants this offseason, feeling really encouraged by all the moves that they made, but feeling even more encouraged now seeing that the practices have gone well for them and that the players we wanted to see perform at a high level are performing at a high level. So that and many more takeaways to come. I will, of course, continue these takeaways and update series throughout minicamp, so stay tuned for that. And once again, guys, if you are going to Fanatics Fest next weekend, reminder, so many Giants players are going to Fanatics Fest, including Nabers, including Dart, so many guys, Russell Wilson. I will be there, though, and I'm excited to meet you guys. I know many of you have asked, hey, can we do a meetup at any point? Fireside Giants meetup. When is it going to be? Let's do the first one next weekend at Fanatics Fest. All right, guys. Can't wait to see you there. And thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you're listening to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. And let's go New York Giants.
Perfect.